Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast, episode number 132. Audrey PFAFFE, deer hunting Wisconsin, and a business startup in deer nutrition. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
Hello, my name is Jerry Hamza. I'm the author of Outdoor Chronicles, True Tales of a Lifetime of Hunting and Fishing. My favorite podcast is Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast.
Hello, my name is Merrill Sport. I'm president of the Hunt Channel, and you're about to listen to my favorite podcast, Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast.
Hi, this is Todd Mead, author of Backcountry Bucks and outdoor writer. Get ready for another amazing podcast with Jay and Dusty on the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Hunting Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast. My name is Jay, and you know what? I'm psyched that you're sitting down and joining us for another episode and hanging out with me and Dusty, who's on the other line right now. Dusty, what's chilling in your neck of the woods?
Oh, man, you know, we're doing a little whitetail hunting here in Ohio this week, and Jay, I couldn't be more thrilled to have you in the house, brother.
Dude, it's right here, right now, man. It's see, we're on day 1, 2, 3 of our hunt. We've been together for a few days now, and ATA is come and gone, but dude, we're still together, and we're still rocking the outdoor and the whitetail industry.
Oh, man, it's just it's an amazing ride, and you know, it wouldn't be possible without all the people that have joined us and followed us here on the Big Buck Registry. Much thanks to all the listeners and viewers, and man, just couldn't appreciate that more.
I will second that. Thank you for all the downloads. Thank you for all the people who have followed us on Facebook. We can't thank you enough, and quite frankly, I can't believe anybody wants to listen to me and you, Dusty, just talk about deer hunting. But hey, man, I'm psyched. People enjoy that.
Yeah, me too. And the great thing is, I think we all connect on the same level, and we all have one love, and it's, you know, the passion for the outdoors and the whitetail hunting. And it shows in everybody we talk with, you know, everybody we run into or get introduced to or just happen to stumble into. We all can relate, and we share the same stories, and it's just a real unique experience to have people like me and you out there that have the love for the same thing.
It's just a dream come true, to be quite honest, that we can talk deer hunting every week, and that our listenership grows month after month, and the fans on Facebook grow month after month, and I just can't thank you enough. So. Yeah. You know, we started this a while ago, and a couple of years ago, 3 years ago or so, and it's grown, and you got to start out slow, and then eventually it grows into something bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is kind of what's happening to a lady by the name of Audrey PFAFFE, who is out in Wisconsin, and she, of course, because we talk to deer hunters, she is a deer hunter, and she is also running a startup mineral company and food plot company. And she actually has a degree in agriculture. Let's see. I wrote this down. She has a degree in agriscience. And she's putting it to the test, and she's developing her own formulas, which is kind of cool because this is a true startup of the outdoor industry, and this is how those bigger companies get started. She's working right out of her barn, packaging up her product and her own formula that she put together for whitetail nutrition.
Yeah, you know, definitely check out whitetail nutrition, and you know, it's real unique that things start out your garage or your barn and progress from there, Jay. It's a unique story.
Yeah, it's a great American story, like some of the other great companies in America. They all start somewhere, man.
Before we get Audrey going here, Jay, let's get with Jim Keller with the Deer News.
For the Big Buck Registry, this is Jim Keller with the Deer News. This week's episode, we're going to be discussing an article that appeared in the Wall Street Journal related to hunting. On December 18th, 2015, the Wall Street Journal featured an article on the topic of big game hunting. Hunting is not a typical subject for the Wall Street Journal, so this week we wanted to bring our listeners' attention to this article. The journal's article was a well-written, objective piece by Kevin Helliker that outlined several positive aspects related to hunting. At a time when articles on big game or trophy hunting haven't always been objective or fair, this article was a welcome change. The article features professional athletes and business people who pursue new challenges and trophies in their life through big game hunting. It also points out that after several decades of declining hunter numbers, our numbers have started to inch up in this century. As these numbers have increased, new hunters seem interested in the challenge of big game hunting like bear and deer rather than small game hunting like rabbits and squirrels. Mr. Helliker makes the distinction that the pursuit of trophy game animals in remote locations is extremely mentally and physically challenging, requiring the hunter to train and be in shape to pursue their game. He fairly reports on hunters, including Eva Shockey, who have received harsh criticism and even death threats when pictures posted of them with their trophies get passed around social media. The article also points out how the unfair treatment has worked in their favor, drawing attention to the legal and legitimate taking of the animals, and eventually rallied people to their support. Mr. Helliker also interviews several hunters for the article who talk about their fitness training, frequency of hunting trips, and satisfaction with their hunts, even when no animals are harvested. Mr. Helliker states the fact that most game animal numbers have experienced dramatic growth in recent decades thanks to donations from hunting organizations and taxes imposed on hunters. He also points out the business boom in the hunting industry through new products, services, and supplies purchased by hunters annually. And finally, the article draws attention to the commerce created when conferences held throughout the country by the various hunting organizations create an economic boon in hosting cities. Hopefully everyone agrees that a quote-unquote positive article on hunting by as an established publication as the Wall Street Journal is newsworthy. Far too often, hunting is not represented fairly, and it was refreshing to see such a well-written, objective article. To read the article in its entirety, go to www.wsj.com and search on trophy hunting. The name of the article is Trophy Hunting's Unlikely Boom. If you are so inclined, please also don't hesitate to post your support for the article to Mr. Helliker. And as always, if you have any ideas for future topics or have questions about this topic, please email me at jim@bigbuckregistry.com. For the Big Buck Registry, this is Jim Keller with the Deer News.
Excellent. Thanks to Jim Keller for bringing us the Deer News this week. And without further ado, here is Audrey PFAFFE. Audrey PFAFFE, welcome to the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast. What's happening?
Not a whole lot. Just got home just a little bit ago, went and seen my dad for the evening, and now I'm here. So we're all good to go.
All right, so where's home?
Durand, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Okay, Durand.
West Wisconsin, yes.
Is that anywhere near the place that makes those Kringles?
I wouldn't know.
Don't know. Okay.
What are Kringles?
Kringles are this like world famous pastry that comes in a big donut circle, and it comes out of some place in Wisconsin, and my dad's been ordering them for years. It's the Old Danish Bakery, I think it's called.
Huh. I've never heard of that place in my entire life.
That is hilarious. I'll have to send you one just to show you what you're making there in Wisconsin. It's fantastic stuff.
I know of Krispy Kremes. We have those, but
We got Krispy Kreme here in Ohio too.
yeah.
That is funny. So you're in Wisconsin, and is this the place you've called home forever, or is this a place you moved to?
It is. No, I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and honestly, I'm never going to leave the state in my entire life. I love it.
You love it that much. That's excellent.
Cool.
You're a Packers fan, I would take it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What else would I be?
So,
Cheesehead.
exactly. Do you call each other cheeseheads, or is that a derogatory term?
No, it's not a derogatory, but we more or less use it when we're kind of, I wouldn't say making fun of each other, but kind of goofing around. But really, I mean, we're just across the board, we're just Packer fans. That's all it is. So if someone calls us a cheesehead, it's usually because they're a fan of another team and they just associate all Packer fans as cheeseheads. So we almost say it as, I guess it wouldn't be joking around, but it kind of is joking around. It's almost more of an honor than anything to be called a cheesehead. It's like, yes, I am. That's right.
Gotcha.
We don't have these cheese curds. We
Okay.
do.
All right. So what is it about Wisconsin that you love so much that will keep you there forever?
We have a little bit of everything here. We've got all 4 seasons. We've got the really nice springs. We got really great fishing. We have really awesome turkey hunting. We have, decent summers. They're not blistering hot out of your mind summers. I mean, we might have a weekend here and there in the summer, but they're not, they're not that bad. And then, of course, the fall, we just have the most incredible deer hunting. I mean, Iowa's got all the fame and fortune of the, big bucks in Iowa and the big buck state. But realistically, Wisconsin's kind of the best kept secret when it comes to big bucks. And seriously, Iowa can keep all the fame because then it keeps more people down there and less people up here in our little secret spots. So that's fine. They can have all the fame. And I mean, we've kind of got a little bit of everything, and I'm never going to leave this place. We've got the hardwoods. We've got lots of nice rolling hills. We've got bluffs. We've got, I mean, a little bit of everything. And there's really no reason for me to go anywhere other than for a weekend trip because I'm kind of a homebody and I love it here. I'm never going to leave.
I kind of dig Wisconsin. It sounds like you've got a great variety there. And
exactly.
Now, if you look at the record books, Wisconsin ranks up there pretty good with all the world record bucks.
It does. And the past couple of years, I've kind of been keeping track, and Wisconsin's been leading for the Boone and Crockett record books, but they're not exactly getting all the notoriety for it, but they are leading. And that's kind of what I said before. You know, all the other places, Kansas, Pike County, Illinois, Iowa, they can keep all the fame and the big names because, you know, all the out-of-staters, they're going to go down there and, you know, kind of more for us type of a thing. I guess I'm going to be selfish that way, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, no, Wisconsin's one of the best deer states in the nation, no question about it. Now, have you been hunting your entire life, or is this something that you kind of grew into later in life?
No, I was born into it. My dad, I guess, obviously I don't remember, I was too little, but I guess he took me, my first tree stand experience, my first hunting experience, I was 2 years old, and he took me with him, and he literally, at the time, I guess I don't know if he didn't have a safety harness or anything like that, or they didn't make them they weren't that popular back in the day, but he had like an old ladder stand that they built out of, 2x4s, and he tied me directly to the tree with bale twine that he took out of the haymow on the way up there so that I wouldn't fall out.
Really?
Yeah, and right. I don't remember it. I can't imagine we'd seen anything that night because a 2-year-old girl, I mean, there's nothing quiet about that. So, but Dad tells me to this day that was his best hunting night that he's ever had, and for me, that was my first hunting experience, was 2 years old being in a 15-foot homemade 2x4 tree stand. So from the start, I mean, I was just kind of in me to go and to do that. And I've loved it ever since. I've been hooked on it ever since. So yeah,
it sounds like you were locked in from an early age of 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's excellent. Absolutely. Excellent. So hunting Wisconsin over the years, have you seen any changes to the wildlife from what you remember early on to today, or have things gotten better, worse, stayed the same? What's your overall view?
Realistically, I mean, I haven't really been, I guess, growing up being real young into it, I didn't really have a clue what was going on. I mean, I just kind of tagged along with my dad or my uncles or my older cousins, and just, you go in the woods, and every time I've been in the woods, I've seen deer. And I just thought that was the norm, that every time you go out into the woods, you're going to see a deer, or you're going to get a shot at a deer, or you're going to see a buck. That's what I grew up with, and that was the norm. And now that I'm a little bit older, and my husband and I, we bought our first piece of property when we were both only 23 years old. And I started hunting that and getting a lot better with scent control. And we weren't, obviously doing that many deer drives. Obviously, bow hunting, you don't do any deer drives. And it kind of got to the point where I didn't see any deer for nights and nights and nights at a time. And it was so weird to me to not see a deer going out in the evening because that's what I grew up with. I mean, right. It was, when I was younger, it was to the point where you couldn't spit without hitting a deer. They were just everywhere. And I feel like now I don't know if the deer are getting smarter, or if hunting's getting that much more popular, that more people are going out, so more being harvested and populations are getting in check, or if I'm just flat out doing something wrong. I don't know. But I grew up in Jackson County, Wisconsin, which is the deer capital of Wisconsin. Just per capita, per square mile, there's more deer there than any other county. And so I don't know if, growing up there, I kind of got spoiled on the idea of every time I go out, I'm going to see deer. And then moved to Pepin County, and, we see less deer, but we see better quality deer. And I don't know if that's because of just more management, or if it's because of the bluffs and there's just less people able to get out there and actually go, that the deer get bigger because they got more hiding spots. I'm really not sure, but those are just kind of little changes that I picked up on just growing up from when I first started bow hunting when I was 12 until, now I'm 25 and, still going. And I feel like I'm getting a little bit better. Every year's a learning experience, and every year you get a little bit better. You pick up on more things, you learn more tips. And so, yeah, I guess that's just some of the things I've seen for changes just in my experience anyway.
Okay, so you are seeing less deer than what you remember seeing a few years ago.
I feel like I am, but at the same time, I feel like I'm seeing more quality deer. Whereas before, if you didn't see down in Jackson County anyway, when I was, 15, 16, 17 years old, if I didn't see 10, 12 deer a night, it was a terrible night. And now I'll see maybe, 2, 3, 6 deer a night, but they're better quality deer. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, just quality deer management and better land management practices around here, or what's going on. But it's definitely different terrain. It's a lot more hilly here, a lot more bluffs and valleys, ravines, ridges, that kind of thing. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, Audrey, how long would you say you spend in the woods on average? And this is kind of a fascinating statistics. I noticed that each state has their kind of statistics that they have to, number of hours you have to spend in the woods before you see a deer. What's that number for you?
I guess, it really kind of depends on the time of year. If it's the rut, I'm going to try my best to sit from as early as I can to as late as I can. Some days it'll be, 12, 15-hour days. Early season, we won't get out there until 2 hours before dark, and we'll only sit those 2 hours because the deer aren't coming out until right before dark, and we've got them patterned. Late season, kind of the same as early season. We have them patterned. We know when they're coming out to feed, and it's either we'll sit for a couple hours in the morning or a couple hours in the very evening, based on either trail camera pictures or just figuring out what time they're really coming out. Because especially late season, I can't sit. I'm kind of a big wuss when it comes to the cold. I cannot sit very long in the cold at all. I won't do it. I can't do it. Just for ethics wise, I can't get my bow back. I can't, I'll be shaking.
Right.
So I'm going to try my best to get them patterned and literally be out there an hour before the deer start coming out. And the second they come out, I'm going to sit out there. And if the one, that I'm not targeting doesn't come out, I might even slip out of there before it's completely dark, just because I can't stay out there that long. It's
Sure.
too cold for me. It's kind of brutal. But early season, I really like early season because you have them patterned a lot better. You know exactly when they're coming out to feed, what channels they're taking, what routes, and I really like warm weather too. I don't like hot weather, but the warm weather I can do. So I'll be out there, 2 or 3 in the afternoon if they're coming out at 5, just because I want to slip in there undetected and I don't want to bust them out. I don't want to run into them. But definitely like during the rut, it'll be as early as you can till as late as you can. The rut will sometimes be 12, 15-hour days because you never know when a hot doe is going to come by and she's going to have a shooter with her. So it kind of varies, but I'd say on average maybe between 4 and 6 hours for an evening sit.
Okay.
And a morning sit, maybe dawn until 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. So probably between 4 and 5 hours, and then of course during the rut, probably 10 to 12 hours. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you see a lot of deer when you see them, or is it more that it's just random? You can't tell.
It kind of depends on the area I'm sitting. The property that we bought is just a little sliver of woods and a little sliver of field edge of tillable land. But it connects to hundreds and hundreds of acres of woodland. So it's kind of like a little funnel. So usually early season is just maybe a doe or a buck fawn here and there filtering through there. But during the rut, there's quite a few running that little pinch point. So, but then at a buddy's farm that we hunt quite a bit, he's got a lot of tillable acreage of cropland that they have. So we can kind of pattern it better, and we'll get out there on the field edge when they're feeding, and there'll be 8 to 20 deer any given time out there feeding at one time. So it kind of depends on the area that I'm hunting for how many deer I guess I'm going to see at a crack. But either it's going to be one to few just kind of filtering through, or it's going to be a big herd of them all at once out to feed. So it kind of varies depending on the area that I'm in.
Gotcha. Okay. So you and your husband bought some land, it sounds like. And
Yep.
Was this, how many acres are you talking about?
It's less than 20 acres. It's about 17 and a half. So it's not very much, but like I said, it connects to a lot.
Right.
And it's right on a ridge top, and it's in a kind of a little a filter point, I guess. They'll run, it's like a pinch point. They'll come between this huge 300 and some acres of woods, and they'll filter through our 17 acres, and they'll go to another 200 something acres of woods. And the good thing about it is all the people up there are really, really into QDM. They're really good about managing their deer, really good about not shooting small bucks or anything like that. So it's a lot of big ones do come filtering through there. And unfortunately for my hubby, the biggest buck that he's had a crack at in the past few years came through there after he had already tagged out.
Oh, wow.
And, so kind of a bummer for him, but at the same time, it's good because it's like, we have all our cameras set out here and there's really not a lot that we get on camera up there because it's not that big of a property to hold deer there.
Yep.
But it's great during the rut because they funnel through there a lot from one big chunk to another big chunk. So it's kind of a little gold mine that we got. So
Gotcha. All right. So it's not necessarily a management piece, but it is
right.
A connector piece that kind of puts you right in the middle of some prime time travel corridors.
Exactly. And it's difficult because there's only been a couple times in the almost 3 years that we've had that property that I've seen the same deer twice. Because it is just such a funnel point, and there's not really a bedding area. We do have a water hole up there, but there's 20 other water holes within 15 acres there. So it's difficult to keep deer there and hold them there, but it's excellent for the ones that are funneling through there that are just kind of passerbys. So it's a good spot for that.
Gotcha. Okay. So what are your strategies for this particular 17 acres then? It's a funnel, it's a pinch point. So what do you do strategically to set up there?
We absolutely do not hunt there if the wind is wrong because it's such a small chunk of property that you can't afford to bust anything out of there if the wind's wrong or if they're bedding there and you come in at the wrong time, because it's not like they're gonna run a couple hundred yards and they'll come back later. It's once they're out of sight, they're kind of off the property line. So we can't really afford to make any mistakes when it comes to, being smelled or being seen getting in there. So that's one of our big things that we try to do is, my husband calls them, we're woods ninjas. We got to ninja ourselves in there and ninja ourselves out because we can't afford to make any mistakes when it comes to getting in and getting out. Because once they're out of sight, they're off the property. It's that small of a chunk. So we try our absolute best to just be, scent control to the max and play the wind as much as we can. And since it is a funnel point, we're really great. We do have a water hole up there, so that's great in the summertime and that's great during the rut. And we're right up on top of a ridge top. So during the rut, that's when they're really, really going to run that top. And also actually during gun season, it's a nice spot to be because we're right along the road. And a lot of deer actually get kicked out from the neighbors and come across the road and come to ours kind of as a safety zone. And we try our best not to overpressure it and overhunt it too much because we kind of want to keep it as a little bit of a safe zone, especially during gun season, because deer are going to be running scared and they're going to figure out that, hey, nobody's here in this spot. So let's hunker down here and stay here as much as we can. So that's also a major tactic we try to capitalize on is not to overpressure our stands. And that's kind of been a learning curve for us for the past few years. And we're figuring it out quick that it's a really, really good tactic that we need to continue with is to not overpressure that spot at all.
Gotcha. All right. Very good. So you have other pieces of property that you hunt as well. And these are connecting properties and friends of yours?
Yes. Yep. Actually, the best man in our wedding, his family, they own a lot of cropland and a lot of timber that comes with that cropland. And he's very smart when it comes to deer management and aging deer. And we have very strict stipulations on what is and is not a shooter for management purposes. So there's a lot of big deer there, and we do our best to, try to rotate stands. And we talk daily about hey, are you hunting tonight? What stand are you in? This is what the wind is. This is what the barometric pressure is. The stand's better than that one. Or, hey, I'm hunting this stand this weekend, so don't hunt that stand now. We want to rest it for a couple days. We're really, really vocal when it comes to that stuff because neither one of us wants to mess up a good hunting opportunity for anybody. And we all kind of share trail cameras and advice and, anything we can do to help each other out is what we do. So. Gotcha.
Very cool. Now, what are your strategies as far as just, like gear setup and things like that? Let's talk about your overall like gear that you like to add to your repertoire.
Honestly, I think it doesn't matter what camo pattern you have, what, your favorite brands are, what store you bought your stuff from, or if it's even like a hand-me-down. I think what matters overall is scent control. My first deer that I ever shot with a bow, I was 14 and I was wearing my uncle's, it was like 8 sizes too big for me. I was drowning in it. I had my pants tied up with bale twine and it was old army camo, the BDU style army pattern. And it was like a button up shirt with just, these pants just draped off me. They're huge and it didn't matter. The deer never saw me, but I was scent controlled to the max. And the wind is right, and that's all that matters, because realistically, deer are kind of colorblind. They can see shades of blue for the most part, and then it's everything other than that is kind of black and white. So as long as you're broken up and your body shape and your outline is broken up, camo pattern doesn't really matter as long as you are super scent killed up to the gills. That's what matters. We've got tote bins upon tote bins of all of our clothes that are, we've got them washed in all the different type of scent detergent, and then we've got dryer sheets of the scent detergent in the tote boxes, which are also sealed up and then put out in a corner of the shed, which has really great ventilation. I mean, we're kind of OCD when it comes to that stuff, but really, realistically, that's kind of how you have to be also. Our buddy also, he owns a dairy farm, and one of the things we do out there is he hangs his camo and all his hunting clothes in the barn, because the cow scent with all the cow manure and everything that he spreads in all the fields that all the deer kind of used to is on his clothes. So for him, that's his cover scent. And
Gotcha.
it's a really smart move. And realistically, we've gone hunting in blue jeans and just a regular hoodie before, but as long as our scent is covered, the deer have no idea we're there.
Okay, so as long as you smell like a cow to a deer, that's a non-threatening smell, and you're good.
Exactly. It's a smell that they're used to that's not going to alert them in any way.
Gotcha. That's smart. That's really smart. So, and I guess this would apply to any place in the country, not so much that you need to smell like a cow, but that you could blend into your background. And that's kind of the whole idea, is to smell like nothing's there. And if you smell like what is there around you other than what you are, you're good.
Exactly. Smell like your surroundings and smell like a scent they're used to. If you're out west and they have a lot of, I guess I wouldn't even know what's out west. I've never been out west. But
Right.
If there's, a big beef operation out there, a big beef ranch, and, you leave your clothes hanging out next to the beef barn and it's constantly a beef smell that they're used to, if they bed out in the fields or whatever, you're not going to alert them in any way. For us, it's kind of dairy farms. Wisconsin's, it's all dairy all the time. And for us, most of the deer, they'll come to the silage bags next to the barn and eat out of it during the wintertime. They're very used to the dairy smell and the fertilizing the fields with the cow manure that they'll come out and eat to after you fertilize them. They're so used to it, and it's a natural smell that's not going to alert them. And I think that's more important than what you look like.
Gotcha. Now, as far as the gear that you bring into the woods, you're like scent control freak, sounds like, right? That's your number one thing. What other gear are you using in the field? Let's talk about your camo first. Do you have you said blue jeans, but is there a kind of camo that you like to bring into the woods with you?
I guess I've kind of been a Realtree girl from the start. That's
Okay.
what my dad always wore, was Realtree, and we grew up watching, Realtree's Monster Bucks and all that stuff. So that's kind of the camo that I just was drawn to. I really liked it. And now we're, it's the Under Armour craze with all the Under Armour hunt, and it's a really great quality stuff. It's expensive, but I'm a firm believer in you get what you pay for. If you want something that's comfortable and form-fitting and it's going to last, you get what you pay for. So for my birthday a couple of years ago, my hubby got me a complete Under Armour suit in the Realtree AP, because he said it was my initials, so I had to get the AP suit.
Right.
And so I guess that's what I've been wearing. But it's kind of funny because my husband, he's always loved the mossy oak tree stand. That's just what he's always worn, and that's what he likes. So anytime we have a Christmas card or anything like that sent out, I'm in the Realtree and he's in the mossy oak, and everyone's always like, "Oh, how come he looks kind of bluish and you look kind of reddish?" I'm like, it's just the camo pattern. I don't know. That's what we like.
That's funny. What about base layers? Do you have a particular base layer that you like to go with?
Yes and no. I just do a lot of just type of thermal, the fleecy type things. I feel like that it keeps me warmer and it keeps me from getting sweaty. And for me, if I sweat on the way to the stand, I'm going to freeze and chill out in about 10 minutes. And so whatever's kind of breathable for me. My mom's got me some stuff, just basic, I don't know. I don't even know where she got it from. I don't know what brand it is, honestly, but it's a really fleecy type thermal underlaying. And I'll wear that stuff, 5-6 times a week during hunting season. I'll be doing a load of laundry every evening, just to stay warm. Because like I said earlier, for me, I freeze all the time. It'll be 90 degrees in the summertime and I'll be under a blanket in the house because my husband's got the air conditioning on too high. That's how it is. And so anything that I can do to stay dry and stay somewhat warm, then I can kind I can hold out from there on.
Okay. How about boots? Boots have to be a big factor here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right now I'm actually looking to upgrade to the Under Armour Browtine 800 gram Thinsulate. But right now I've got my knee-high lacrosse 800 gram insulated boots, and I got those quite a few years ago. I want to say probably 6 or 7 years ago now, and they've never got a hole in them. They've never leaked, and they've kept me just as warm as, anything else I could have bought at the time. And realistically, I really like wearing them. They're kind of heavy. They're kind of clunky to walk in, but for me, I have really weak ankles too. So for me, they're knee-high, thick rubber boots. So they actually have a lot of support when it comes to walking up and down, especially all the ridges and, all the big hill climbing I have to do to get to certain stands. And so, I'm going to keep wearing those until they rip out on me or, I have no reason to get rid of them.
Gotcha.
And my feet are kind of the first thing to get cold on me. So what I actually like to do, especially if I'm in a tree stand setting, I'll take a rug, like a regular, just a floor rug, a small, 24 by 12 inch rug that you get, or a mat even, and I'll let it sit outside and I'll spray it down on all my scent killer so that it, it doesn't smell like anything, but I'll put that under my feet so that my feet aren't sitting on the direct metal.
Right.
A little bit more insulated that way.
That's smart, because the metal definitely gets colder than some of the other gear. Like if your body's touching the metal, your hands go freezing cold fast.
Absolutely. Yep.
Very smart. All right. So these are rubber boots that you're wearing?
Yep.
Okay. And what about as far as like scent control itself? What are you using for products to keep that scent under control, other than the totes and that kind of stuff? Are you using a certain kind of spray or cover scents?
Yep, we use a lot of the scent killer, or the scent killer gold. And then just in the past couple of years, I've absolutely fallen in love with Nose Jammer. Yes. The whole concept behind it. And I was kind of a skeptic to begin with, because I'm like, oh, this stuff smells like vanilla extract.
Right,
it smells like something I have in my pantry. I'm like, there's no way that a deer is going to think this smells natural, until I sprayed it on my boots and, up in the tree stand around me, and then in a corridor that I had to walk through to get to my stand. That corridor was a shooting lane, and there was no way to avoid it. And it was just like, well, I'm going to spray this Nose Jammer here, and hopefully the deer won't smell that I walk through here. And there was a smaller buck, a 10-point, I think he must have been a 3.5-year-old, and he was following a hot doe, and she was pretty dang hot to trot. And this was, I think, beginning of November or just before. And he was right on her tail. And she ran through that where I'd sprayed the Nose Jammer and jumped in a big, thick brush pile and tried to hide, because I imagine he must have been harassing her for quite some time and she wasn't in heat yet. And so she jumped in this brush pile and hid, and he was right on her tail until he ran through that area that I sprayed that Nose Jammer. And it was like you hit him in the face with a hammer, and he was just stunned, like, where the heck did she go? He had no idea where she was. He was following her scent trail all the way until he hit that Nose Jammer, and then it was just like he couldn't smell anything. He had no idea where he was. He just stood there almost kind of confused for quite a while, and ended up running up and down that ridge a couple times, gave me every shot opportunity in the world for probably a good 10-15 minutes. And then that doe finally decided to jump up. And as she did so, she was only maybe 5-10 yards from him. And she jumped up, and he almost jumped out of his skin. Like, she scared him because he had no idea she was there, even though she was in heat, or almost in heat, to the point where, he was following her so closely until he hit that trail of the Nose Jammer. And then it was just like he had no idea where he even was. And from there on, I was just like, you know what? I am no longer a skeptic. This stuff obviously works, and I'm never, ever, ever going to go in the woods without it. And to this day, I will not go in the woods without using Nose Jammer in some way, shape, or form. I won't do it.
That's interesting you say that, because you're about the fifth person that we've interviewed on this show that has mentioned Nose Jammer and how great it seems to be. Who introduced you to Nose Jammer?
Actually, a guy that owns a sports shop down in my hometown, they got it in quite a few years ago, before it really got big and before it got very well known. And he's just like, I kind of felt like he was just kind of joking around with me, like, oh, hey, here's this new stuff. You want to try it? Only, so much dollars. Here you go. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. It's not going to work. He's like, no, really, just here, have a free bottle. Just have a bottle on me. Just try it. I'm just trying to get rid of this stuff.
Right.
And I was like, all right, whatever. And I tried it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And I went back 2 weeks later, and they were sold out. They had none of it left. It was actually on back order. And I was just like, wow. every year I need to buy a couple bottles of this just to keep on hand because it's that big of a thing. And, back then they only had just the aerosol can, and now they've got the dryer sheets, the shampoo, the conditioner, the soap, the deodorant. They got everything, and we have all of that in our house because every year I'm like, all right, I got to get this, and this. And my husband's still kind of a skeptic, but I don't really think he says he is, but every time he goes out, he uses it. So, and he's had nothing to say contrary to it working. So
the verdict's still out for me, but it seems to be so overwhelming with smell, and just a little bit. It's got to do something to the olfactory senses, and it does what it says it does. It jams up its nose. It can't detect other things. It's so overwhelmed with this one smell. I bought a can of it this year. I used some of it. Seemed to work. I didn't get detected. Now I've taken the quarter full can that's left, and it hangs out in the kitchen, and it's right next to the garbage can. So I just spray a little bit in there, and the rest is great. So
I spray my car from time to time.
Works on humans too. It's kind of interesting.
Exactly. And like I was trying to explain it to my husband because, like I said, he's kind of a skeptic about it. And I'm like, honey, when you walk through the mall and they have all these different perfumes and colognes and all the samples out, after you smell like your third one, the fourth one, you can't smell it. You don't know, what the scent is. You can't say whether you like it or not. And that's because you've smelled these strong scents to the point where you can't smell anything anymore. It overloaded your nose. And that's exactly what this nose jammer does, except for deer, their olfactory senses are so much more hypersensitive than ours that even just the littlest bit does for them what it took you 4 or 5 cents to do. And I'm like, that's exactly what it does. And I've seen it in action. And like I said, I will not step foot in the woods without it. Not at all.
Yep. Good stuff. All right. So let's talk about your bow setup. You hunt gun and bow?
I do.
Okay.
Yep. My first deer, I was 12 years old that I shot with my gun. It was a 243 Remington that my grandpa bought for me when I was 11 or 12, one of the two. And that's the only rifle I've ever shot a deer with since I was 12 years old. And I've shot a deer with my rifle, I think at least one every single year since I was 12. Sometimes it's depending on the year, it's multiple deer. But that's the only gun I've ever used for that. And it fits me great. It's a youth model. But realistically, I mean, I'm only 5'5", 100 pounds. I don't need a huge gun. And I can't have a huge gun. It's going to overpower me. I can't carry something like that. So, I was shooting gun when I was 12. And then my dad bought me a bow when I was 14. And I shot my first deer actually when I was 14 also. So I've kind of just upgraded from there, and I shoot both, and I love them both.
Gotcha. If you had to pick one, would you pick a bow or a gun?
Oh, a bow, hands down.
Bow every day. Okay.
Every day.
All right. What kind of bow are you shooting?
Right now I am shooting a Bowtech Heartbreaker.
Okay, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of good things about Bowtech. Seems like some of the more detailed archers seem to go with all the Bowtech equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it's kind of a battle here in our house because my husband, he's a hardcore Matthews guy. You will never get him to shoot anything other than a Matthews ever. And so I don't know. It's just kind of fun to razz each other. We have that little bit of a competitive edge because I can't remember if it was this year or the year or a couple of years ago where Bowtech, they were ranked number 1 for in the bow brand rankings, I guess. And Matthews was like number 9. And I just had the biggest year, just the biggest heyday, just razzing him about it. And he had nothing to say. And then, of course, I don't know if it was this year, whatever year it was, Matthews was number 1 again. And so then he had the biggest heyday. So it's kind of it's pretty good when your biggest arguments are bow brands or camel brands, I guess.
They bounce back and forth. It seems like they just trump each other one year after the other. Kind of the bow wars, so to speak.
Exactly. And at this point, I mean, each company and each brand is so great. I mean, all the bows realistically are kind of interchangeable. So at this point, it just kind of comes down to personal preference. I mean, if you blindfolded me and I shot a Matthews Jewel, or I shot a PSC, or I shot my Bowtech Heartbreaker, I could not tell you the difference. I would feel a little bit of a difference, but I couldn't tell you unless I was not blindfolded. So especially in our household, it just kind of comes down to personal preference.
Gotcha. Very cool. So is this a hunting lifestyle for you? Your husband seems to be into hunting. You're into hunting. Is this the way of the house?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything we talk about in our house, it has to do with either our dogs or the military or hunting. Like, that's really the only conversations we have because that's what our life revolves around. And I mean, it's just, I don't know what we would do if we didn't hunt. I don't know what the heck I would do with myself if I didn't hunt. I'd probably have a lot more money and a lot more free time, but I'd be miserable because, I mean, our family members, our mothers especially, every Christmas they ask us, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas? And every single time they ask us that, it's either trail cameras, give me a new pack of broadheads, or a Shields gift card, because that's all we want. That's all we need, really.
Gotcha.
And I mean, if someone got me like a bunch of candles or some nice dish towels, yeah, okay, whatever, that's nice. But I don't want that. And there's been so many times where, especially around our wedding, everyone was asking us, oh, where are you going on your honeymoon? You're going to the Bahamas, or are you going to Florida? Or are you going on a cruise? And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to spend $5,000 on a trip to have a vacation somewhere, it's going to be a really, really good elk hunt out in Colorado somewhere at a really fancy outfitter. Like, if I'm going to pay that much money to go on a vacation, I'm going to come home with something nice to put on my wall.
Right. Yep. Very nice. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your profession. It sounds like you've got a small business going on. Is that correct?
I do. Yep. I went to school for, I guess the degree is in agri-science technician with an emphasis on animal science and nutrition. And, I grew up on a little hobby farm. 3 of my uncles are dairy farmers. Both my grandpas were dairy farmers. I mean, I was kind of born into the farming lifestyle. So it just made sense to go to school for farming. And I've always been really interested in the nutrition aspect of it. And so I went to school for animal nutrition. I got a degree in animal nutrition. And once I graduated school, I got a job in animal nutrition, but it was, I live in Wisconsin. You got to do something with dairy. That's just, you have to. And so I got a job doing dairy nutrition, and it was fine, and I liked it, and I was good at it, but my heart wasn't really there. And so then, while I had my fancy, nutrition programs and every, resource at my fingertips, nutrition-wise, I was like, you know what? I want to do something with deer nutrition. Like, that's what I want to do. And I actually had applied for a job with a very big name in the wildlife nutrition field. And they had turned me down because I didn't have any experience, because I was so fresh out of school. I just didn't have experience. So
Gotcha.
that kind of lit a little bit of a spark under my butt to be like, you know what, fine, I'm going to make my own nutrition company. I'm going to do it myself. And that's what I did. And like I said, I had every resource at my fingertips, and professionals in the industry that were kind of like, I'd make a recipe for a good mineral, a mineral recipe, I guess. Yeah. And I sent it off to a couple of professionals in the industry, and they actually emailed me back, and they were like, you know what, it would do you really, really well to market this. Everything's spot on. And you've clearly done your homework, and it would do you really well to market this. And I was like, all right, fine. That's all I needed, and I'm going to do it. So, and my husband's actually been a huge support with all that. There's quite a few times where I kind of wanted to throw in the towel and be like, it's too hard, or, we're just little out of my horse shed, I guess, packaging the stuff by hand with a, a half cup measurement scooper that you use for baking that's just in your kitchen. And he's like, you know what, just keep doing it. This is going to work. This is going to work. Just keep doing it. And so I did. And, now it's this March actually will be 2 years of starting the company from absolute scratch. Nobody's helping us. Nobody's doing anything. And it's getting there. So we've got quite a few sports shops and a couple of big name dealerships that really want to have our stuff in the next year here. So it's going. It's slowly getting there, but it's getting there. So
that's cool.
25. I mean, I'm pretty excited that I started as young as I did, because there's so many people that they don't really, they work their whole lives, and then and then once they're in their 30s or 40s, then they decide to, to really chase their dream. And once they do that, it's almost like, well, you're almost retirement age by the time it really blossoms and gets to be anything really big and great. And it's like, you know what? I didn't want to do that. I wanted to start young, to have it be great, at a younger age, and be able to enjoy it while I can enjoy it. So that's what we did.
I wish I had that attitude when I was 25, and I'd be in a different position, because I didn't really start doing the things I really wanted to do until I was like 40. And for the last 4 years, it's been fantastic. I'm happier. I'm doing the things I like to do. I may not be making money necessarily, but it doesn't matter. I'm happy. So that's the success of it. And I knew you were feeling the pains of being a business owner, a small business owner, the last time we spoke, because we had to reschedule the show. And,
Yep.
and that's what happens. And I understand all that. I've been there. We've had businesses, and that's what happens. You have to do that kind of exercise now and then to make it work.
Exactly. And every time I feel like these growing pains from, anything that comes up during, in the business or a problem that we run into, I just keep telling myself it's a blessing that we have these problems, because it means we're doing something right. It means we're growing. It means things are moving along. I mean, if I didn't run into snags here and there and I didn't run into any problems, it would mean nothing was going anywhere. Nothing was even changing or happening or developing. So I look at every problem as kind of a blessing in disguise. And every problem is also kind of like a learning curve that, okay, we ran into this. We know how to handle it. We know how to handle it if it ever happens again, to make it, better and go smoother the next time we run into this, if we do have to run into it.
Right. Very much so. Now, here's the thing, Audrey. There's some amazing companies that started in garages. I can think of quite a few. One would be Microsoft. Then another would be Apple. And if you want to look at the outdoor industry, look at Matthews. All of these started in a garage. So if you're doing this in your garage or barn, I think you're starting where all the great companies start. It's just the way it is, and you grow it slowly, methodically, making advances. And I think you got it right.
Exactly, and that's what I keep telling myself. All the big companies, they didn't start out big. They started out just somebody that had an idea at one point in time and said, "Hey, let's try to make this work." And they made it work with what they had available to them at the time. And I mean, anything that comes easy isn't going to be worth it. So, we keep our noses to the grind and we keep trying, and eventually it's going to get better and better each time we do it. So
yeah, very cool. Well, let's talk about some memorable deer hunts, if we could, Audrey. And I'd like to have Dusty to walk us through it. Where are we going?
All right. Well, first time, I guess the one that I can think of right off the bat, it's the most important one that I've ever been on. It was during my grandpa's birthday. So it was September 25th of 2013. And so early season, and it's hot and miserable.
Where are we headed?
We are in Jackson County. Yep, Wisconsin. Absolutely. Okay. I've never hunted anywhere other than Wisconsin. So that'll change.
All right. That'll change over the years, but that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So we left my grandpa's birthday party, and it was my husband and I, and we were walking to a spot that I've been hunting my entire life on my neighbor's property. And it was one of those 80-degree, humid, miserable, I mean, just tensions are high. You're not having a good day to begin with type of a thing. And this was a stand that was set up for videotaping. So it was a ladder stand, 18-foot ladder stand, and then 3 feet above that and facing to the left was a hang-on stand that, the person that was videotaping would sit in. And I kept telling my husband, I'm like, just sit this stand with me. Let's just sit together. And he kept saying, no, I don't want to sit with you, because if a deer comes in, you're going to shoot it. I might as well not bring my bow. I mean, let's sit in 2 different stands to better our odds. And, just it got to the point where we were so frustrated with each other, and all I wanted him to do was sit with me. And I'm like, there's so many men out there that can't get their wives or girlfriends to even want to go hunting. And here you have one that not only wants to go hunting, but is telling you the best stand to sit and wants you to hunt with her. Like, this never happens. And so we were both frustrated with each other, and we were like full blown yelling at each other. I mean, we weren't ninjaing ourselves into the woods at all. We were yelling pretty loud. And of course, we had to walk up the steepest, most nastiest part of a ridge, and we get up there. And at this point, we are so fed up with each other. He climbs up first. He gets into the higher stand, and then I climb up, and, I sit in the ladder stand. We hang up our bows, and we're just sitting there mad at each other, not talking for like 15 minutes after we climb up there. And of course, we're both out of breath because it's 80 degrees. There's mosquitoes everywhere. It's just miserable. And after about 15 minutes, I finally look up at him, and he's, playing on his phone, kind of upset. I'm like, hey, I love you. We're going to have a good hunt. And he's like, yeah, okay, I love you too. And so, we sit there for another couple minutes, and 25 minutes into the hunt, I look to my left, and here is this whomper of an 11-pointer. He walked right up the ridge. He's walking directly to us on a string. Had no idea we were there. I mean, he's taking his sweet time. He's walking about as slow as you can walk. And so I stand up. I've got my bow in hand. I've got my release on. I'm about ready to draw back. But this deer is walking either directly to me or quartering to me the whole time. I have no shot. And he's walking, 35 yards, 30 yards, 25 yards, 20 yards straight to us. And now my husband starts tapping on the tree to let me know there's a deer coming. Meanwhile, I've been watching this deer for like 5 minutes already before he even looked up and noticed there's a deer coming. So this deer comes right to me. He walks right behind our tree. Like, he almost brushes up against the tree. So at this point, I have to stand up and turn completely around, face the other direction, and I come to full draw, and this deer's at 11 yards, quartering away from me, head down, eating acorns, just not a clue in the world I'm there. And I have all the time in the world. And there's this one little bitty branch in my way that now, in hindsight, looking back on it, I could have totally shot and avoided that branch. But me just erring on the side of caution, I'm like, well, I have all the time in the world. I'm going to take my time. He needs to take one more step and he's mine. So I'm at full draw. I'm just about ready to hit that trigger. And I see this arrow sink into behind his shoulder. He mule kicks, his blood spurts everywhere. He takes off right down the hill. And I'm sitting there like, what the heck? Like, I didn't accidentally hit my arrow. Like, everything's fine. And I look up and my husband's like doing his little happy dance, just excited as all get out. And I look at him. I'm like, what the heck did you do? Because in our argument walking up there, we had decided that if there's a buck 30 yards and closer, I will shoot. And if it's 30 yards and further, he will shoot. So I'm sitting here thinking, are you kidding me? I was at full draw, just about ready to shoot the biggest buck of my life. He was at 11 yards, and you shoot him out from underneath me when I'm at full draw? Like, what were you thinking? But then, at the same time, it was the biggest buck of his life, and he did not know that I was at full draw, just being on opposite sides of the tree, and I was lower below him. He couldn't see that I was at full draw. He had no idea that I had a shot or anything. And in his mind, if he didn't take that shot and shoot the deer, he thought he was going to get yelled at later for, I didn't have a shot. Why didn't you shoot the deer? No, neither of us had the deer. So he, all the blood drains out of his face. Once I look at him, I'm like, I almost shot him. I was at full draw. And the poor guy was like, kind of upset because he's like, oh shoot, I just botched this hunt for my wife, but at the same time, I just shot the biggest buck of my life. So I kind of brushed it aside. I'm like, you know what? Awesome. It's going to be on our wall either way. And super excited. So we climbed down and he calls his best friend and I called my roommate at the time, and we're both like, giddy and freaking out because, it's an early season deer, and it's got one of those short early season hides that are so cool. And we outsmarted this deer, and it was awesome because we were both there. We both experienced it together. And I called my mom, and she had come up and helped us track it. And, he had only fell 60 yards from where we shot him. And realistically, the only reason he made it that far is because he rolled all the way down this hill. And it was just probably the most memorable hunt of my life. I wouldn't say the best hunt of my life because realistically, my husband shot the biggest buck that I've ever had an opportunity at out from under me. So it's not the best hunt of my life, but it's definitely the most memorable hunt of my life. And to this day, I told him I'm never hunting with him again during bow season if we both have a tag and we both have a bow, because I'm not going to do it because I'm still kind of sore about it. But we still hunt together, and we still drive to the same spot together. And, I'll go to my stand, he'll go to his stand. But to this day, I will never sit in the same tree with him ever again. We both have a tag. It won't happen. And it's kind of funny because there's really no way to tell that story without him looking like a jerk, because he tried telling the story, about him shooting this big buck to all his guys at drill the weekend after. And no matter how excited he was about shooting this deer, no matter how he said how great the shot was or anything like that, all the guys kind of looked at him. They were like, yeah, but your wife was at full draw. Like, who cares if you shot it? I'm not even happy for you because your wife was at full draw. So it's kind of funny that it took the wind out of his sails about it, but we can still just laugh about it and have a good time. But yeah, that's definitely the most memorable deer hunt. And I think that's probably going to be the most memorable deer hunt of my entire life.
That's a good one. That's going to be hard to top, to be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Are you both in the military?
No, just him. He's been in the military since 2007.
Gotcha. Very cool. So obviously big deer do walk by your stand, and, we talked a little bit about how many hours you have to sit in the stand to see them. But what happens when they don't appear for a long period of time? Do you get bored in the stand?
Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody gets bored in there. I mean, I honestly, this sounds really stupid, and this is probably just a generational thing, but I don't know what the heck I did in the tree stand before I had a smartphone. I don't know what I did in the stand before I had Facebook at my fingertips, before I could text all my friends, before I could play Candy Crush. Like, I don't know what I did with myself, because, I mean, to this day, if my phone's not at full battery before I get out of the car, I'm going to sit in there until it's a little bit more charged, because I know I'm going to be sitting there on my phone either, texting somebody about what I'm not seeing or taking pictures of all the squirrels that I'm seeing. Or, I got to do something to keep myself entertained because you don't see a shooter every night. That's for sure.
Gotcha. And I noticed that you do take some video while you're sitting in the stand waiting for the deer to come by. And in fact, you sang us a song during the year, and it turned out to be one of my favorite deer hunting videos of 2015.
Yes, I did. I made up a song.
You did. It was great. And so what I was wondering is if we might be able to, because I know it's no longer on your Facebook page, could we try to recreate it right here on the Big Buck podcast?
I could, but it's not going to be the same experience because I'm not 17 feet up and freezing, but I'll try my best for you.
All right. Would you like us to do the bass line?
No, I'll do it.
You're going to do it all. All right. I'm ready when you are.
Okay. Da-na-na-na-na, waiting on a deer. Da-na-na-na-na, they don't seem to be here. Da-na-na-na-na, wish one would walk by. Da-na-na-na-na, and let an arrow fly. Da-na-na-na-na.
That's great. Thank you so much for doing that. Wasn't that great, Dusty?
That was excellent. Actually, I'm really impressed with this song.
In key and everything. It was perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm surprised I don't have a record label yet.
It was great. Literally, it was such a good video because it does personify what we experience as hunters in the woods and what these smartphones have done to our lives. And it gives us some entertainment while we're waiting for things to happen. And let's face it, sitting in a tree stand all day long, it plays with your focus a little bit. So I think that having these little side distractions that aren't necessarily going to distract you from the hunt are good to keep you in the stand longer.
Absolutely. And honestly, kind of going down those lines, my buck that I shot 2 years ago, it was one of those nights where it was drizzly and rainy and cold, and I was playing on my phone. And I was actually playing on Facebook. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to check this one last thing on Facebook, and then I'm coming down because I'm cold and nothing's moving and I'm not dealing with it. And honestly, I was looking down, playing on Facebook, and this doe comes running by me, and my phone's still in my hand. I'm still looking down, and she's sweaty and she's huffing and puffing. She's panting like a dog, and she stands and squats and pees right next to my ladder stand. Like her hip is touching my ladder. And I'm still sitting there with my Facebook page open, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there has to be a buck behind her because does don't just act like that just because. And sure as heck, I heard a couple of grunts, and I looked to my left, and here comes my buck, and walks right down the trail that every hunter, fantasizes that, oh, here's the shooting lane. Here's the trail they're going to come down, and he's going to perfectly walk down this trail, and he's going to perfectly stand at this quartering away angle, and he's going to sit there with his head up, and I'm going to get this perfect shot off. And realistically, that's exactly what happened. And honestly, I don't think in my entire life that's ever going to happen ever again, like that scenario that I pictured. And that all happened while I had Facebook open, sitting in my lap. And it's like I said, my husband makes fun of me all the time because he calls me a selfie queen and all this other garbage. But it's like, you know what? If I wasn't playing on my phone, I would have gotten down from the stand a half hour prior, and I wouldn't have gotten a shot off at the deer. So he can make fun of me all he wants, but you know what? I got a deer while I was on Facebook. So.
You are good at selfies, I have to admit, and some of us aren't. So I'm not good at it, but you're good at it. And I think it's if you have a grasp of social media today, especially in the small business arena that you're getting into, it can only help your cause. And if you have an understanding of how it works and you're willing to open up to the world and tell everybody about yourself, I think that's only a good thing.
Well, and I think it's such a great management tool, especially for this generation, because I grew up on computers and email and texting and all that stuff. And like people that are like my parents' age, they have no idea even hardly how to text or anything. I had to show them how to do all that stuff. And it's like back in their day, if somebody opened a new business, they would take out, a small little ad in the paper, a 47 character, little print ad in the classifieds. And now I can make a big Facebook page, and for $5 a month, promote it to hundreds of thousands of people. And, that's for them, that's kind of unheard of. But for me, I really try to utilize that as much as I can as a really good tool, because it's like, you know what, there's hundreds of thousands of people that have heard of my stuff or even watched my stupid singing deer video while I was in a tree stand. Whereas, 10 years ago, I would have had to take out an ad in the paper for that. And now I don't have to. And now so many more people have seen it. And, I feel like it's a useful tool if used the right way.
I agree. And you're coming out of a generation, or you're more connected to that younger generation more so than I am, and that will be your pathway to your business, basically, when it's all said and done. Mm-hmm. So one other question I had is about the face paint. I noticed that you're into this face paint stuff.
I do. I like my face paint.
Where does that come from? What's the purpose? I mean, it's sold on stores, and I think it definitely helps. What's your position on that? Do you think it helps?
I guess what really triggered it for me was I was sitting in a tree stand and on my neighbor's land, and my neighbor came driving up the pathway in his little Ranger or whatever to check a trail camera, and he didn't know that I was sitting in that tree stand. And he comes driving up the trail, and I thought, there's no way in heck he's going to see me. I'm, 20 feet up. I'm camouflaged. I am hidden in here to the 9. He is not going to see me. And he came up, checked the trail camera, and left. And I get a text from him later, and he says, "Your face was glowing out of there like a spotlight." He's like, "I couldn't see any of you except for your big shining face." And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, duh, light bulb went off. Everything else in me is camouflaged except for my face. And, for a deer, I suppose that's just seeing black and white. Everything's broken up and camouflaged except for here's this, round, shiny, peach colored thing just sticking out of the tree stand like a spotlight. And for me, that's kind of when the light bulb went off in my head. Like, I camouflaged everything else. I need to camouflage this too, because it's not going to do me any good if it literally looks like a spotlight sticking out at them. That's my face. I mean, so for me, I was like, you know what? That's it. I got to do something to break up the shape of my face, the outline, either the shininess or whatever it is, the glare from the sun, something would be triggering these deer to look up there and see me. And so for me, I was like, you know what, that's it. I gotta do something to camouflage my face. And realistically, early season, I am not wearing a face mask to save my life. I won't do it. I'm already, going to be sweating and hot and muggy. I'm not putting more stuff covering up my face and nose. That's not going to happen. So that's when I really got into the face paint, and ever since then, I haven't gone back. I will not go in the woods without face paint of some kind, or if it's late season, I'll wear a face mask, just to keep me warmer. But even then, I still got some type of face paint on, because if a deer comes by, I got to pull that face mask down so that I can, hit that kisser button in the corner of my mouth with on my bowstring, and I can't do that with a face mask on. So
that's a good idea, actually. I've never thought about it, but you're right. Early season, it is hot and muggy, and having some kind of cover on your face is good, but you don't want to put on a mask because it gets just hotter. And I think I'm going to give that a shot. Thank you for that tip. That was very good.
Absolutely. You should.
Yeah, it was a great tip. Going to get into a few more questions here, kind of like our closing questions of the show. One's going to be, what is your most read book about hunting? Do you have any particular book that you read about hunting?
Really, I don't. I guess the most thing I do is on the Quality Deer Management Association. I've got that just programmed into my phone. I am on that every single day. I've subscribed to all their emails. Anytime there's a new article on the Quality Deer Management Association's page, it gets sent directly to my email, and I'm reading those things constantly. They're just my go-to tool, I guess, for everything.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. What's your most used hunting tip?
My most used hunting tip would definitely be scent control. I mean, if you're hunting, you can be, especially if you've done everything right when it comes to scent control. I mean, you've showered in the scent control shampoo and body wash. Your stuff's been in a scent-free tote, and it's been washed in the scent-free stuff. And, you get up in your stand, but you're hunting the wrong stand because you didn't factor into the wind. I mean, that buck's going to smell you regardless. You can be 99% scent free, but old deer are not old and big because they're stupid. I mean, they've been conditioned and they've learned. And if you're not playing the wind and you don't have your scent control just right, they're going to be gone, and you're going to miss an opportunity. And you're probably honestly going to educate that deer, and he's going to be smarter next time comes around, and you might have just completely botched a chance altogether on that deer.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. Great tip. Is there one thing that you cannot go into the woods without, kind of like a lucky charm or something that you pack in your bag that you just cannot, or you feel naked without?
I won't go out into the woods at all without my nose jammer. It doesn't necessarily need to be in the tree stand with me, but I gotta spray my boots down. And then I've got my eye black outdoors, my grease paint. It's like it's kind of like a tube of chapstick. And I'll put that just below my eyes, almost like football marks, I guess, on your cheekbones before I go in. And I guess for me, that's kind of like gearing up to get in there, and I kind of get myself in the zone that way. And so yeah, those I think those are my two things.
Gotcha. Do you have a lucky charm by chance?
Lucky charm? I don't think so. I guess it's probably just like a good luck text from my hubby before I get in there. He always has me text him at like once I get up into the stand, just to let him know, that I made it in there safely and everything's good to go. And I'll text him and I'll say, hey, I'm up here, I'm safe, I'm good to go. And he always says, okay, good luck. And I guess that just makes me feel really good. Or anytime my mother comes hunting with me, she never grew up hunting. She was always kind of the one that was stuck at home making the big meal for all the hunters when they come down at noon type of a thing.
Right.
And she's come hunting with me quite a bit now in recent years. And she is my stinking good luck charm if I ever had one. I mean, every single time that woman sits with me, I see a shooter. I kid you not. Every single time she has sat in the tree stand with me, I've seen a big buck. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of like bringing a toddler in there with you because she doesn't sit still. She's not very quiet, but I don't know what it is. I always see a big buck every time she sits with me. For the past 3 years, every dang time she sat with me, I've seen a big buck. So my mom is definitely part of my good luck charm, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. What would the Audrey now tell the Audrey from 8 or 10 years ago?
Not sit the same stand more than 3 times a week. I remember sitting every single day when I got done with school. Either the bus would drop me off or I'd drive home. I'd get home at about 3:30 in the afternoon. I'd put on all my camo that was hanging out in the shed, and I'd grab my bow and I'd walk the same trail to the same stand every single night after school, and I would sit that same spot until dark. And looking back on it, I'm like, wow, you idiot. You sat that stand like 50 times in a row. It's no wonder you didn't see any deer after like the 10th time of sitting there, because they learned, hey, there's human scent. This trail's been walked and there's somebody crawling out of that stand at dark. And now it's like, I look back on it and I honestly kick myself, because I'm like, if I would have sat that stand 3 times a week and sat the ridge stand, every other night, I could have had how many big bucks on the ground by now. But at the time, you don't know any better. It's just, oh, that's my stand. It's this time. I'm going to climb into the tree stand when I'm done with school, and that's how it goes. So I think that would be the biggest thing, is just, what stands to sit how many times a week and not burn your spots out.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's a great thing to tell the past, and now that it's in the present. Jay, you got any further questions?
I think that's all I've got. But Audrey, how do we reach you? Or let's say we wanted to buy some of your mineral from your new business that you're getting off the ground. If we wanted to reach out to buy some of this stuff, how would we do that?
You can reach me on my Facebook right now. I'm currently building our website, so that should be up and running by this spring. And actually, I've got 3 food plots formulated right now, and I'm hoping to have 10 food plots ready to go by this next, planting season, this next spring, by the time the ground thaws. So as of right now, you can get a hold of me on my Facebook page, which is Monarch Whitetail Nutrition LLC. And once the website is up and going, I will post that on our website, or I will post that on our Facebook page as well, to let everyone know that that's up and going, and then we can do online orders from there.
That's awesome. Very cool. Audrey, this has been an absolute pleasure. You told some fantastic stories. I love your passion and your motivation as a small business owner, something that's near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate what you're doing, and keep up that great work. And it's just been an honor, and thank you for joining us on the Big Buck Podcast.
Thank you guys so much. This was just an absolute blast. This was a fun time. You guys are great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We like that. We like to talk about deer hunting. But thanks for joining us on the Big Buck Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks to Audrey for joining us on the Big Buck Podcast, telling us what's going on in that 17 acres that she's hunting out there in Wisconsin. Of course, she's hunting other spots, but she has her own property. She's got a great formula, it sounds like, that she's actually being able to open up a market and put that agri-science degree to work. And while she starts her own small business and it begins her adventure in the outdoor industry.
Yeah, it's a cool story, man, and chasing the dream, and that's what it's all about. The outdoor industry is a billion-dollar industry, and she sure is trying to chase after it. And that speaks volumes for itself, that she started this on her own, and she's putting all this work into it and doing all this at home. And it's just a really cool story that the American dream is coming to life.
It is cool. And to be 25 and doing this, I wish I had done this when I was 25.
Yeah, I don't. Now you're old.
I know I am old. Where would we be today if you and I had jumped on a microphone 15, 20 years ago and started this thing out?
Oh, wow. It could be crazy where we could be today. But, we're progressing every day, Jay, and me and you are getting more knowledge, and we're sharing more knowledge with our listeners, and we got a great appreciation for everybody that tunes in with us. And that right there drives us, and we love what we're doing, and we're going to keep going for everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are. Dusty, do you have a Chubby Tines tip of the week?
Yeah, I do. Snow season's getting upon us here, and it's been a little late for us in Ohio. But everybody always asks, I go out to the woods and I see all these deer tracks, and it's hard to tell in the snow. It's drifted and blown, and some spots you can see the tracks pretty good. But 95% of bucks drag their hind legs as they press through the snow, and that's something that I like to share with everybody. That you get out in the snow and you're doing a little tracking, and pay attention, and you'll start noticing it looks like something dragged their foot and took a step, dragged their foot and took a step. That's usually a buck deer walking through the snow.
That's cool, man. I actually took a walk today. We've got some snow that's fallen here in New Hampshire, and I took a little walk a little while ago in the woods when the snow first fell about a week ago, and wanted to see where all those deer are going, man. I've got another full year to go or so before we can start hunting again, so I won't disturb them. But it is interesting where they're traveling. Some of the spots is where I thought they would be. Some of the spots are not where I thought they were going. So you learn a lot when you just start kind of following these deer tracks in the snow, and kind of like what you'd be doing in spring scouting season.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Snow educates you for sure in the whitetail woods.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Oh man, I think that's a wrap. Where can we find you, Dusty, when you're not hanging out here with me?
You can shoot me an email, dusty@bigbuckregistry.com. You can look me up on Facebook, facebook.com/Chubby Tines Outdoors, or you can check me out on Instagram @ChasingAntler. Jay, where can the people reach out to you when you're not on the mic?
The best place if you wanted to contact me directly is jay@bigbuckregistry.com. You can always give us a call at 724-613-2825. If you have any suggestions for the deer news, if you have a story that you'd like us to break, just shoot Jim an email, jim@bigbuckregistry.com. You can always find us on Facebook, facebook.com/bigbuckregistry. If you'd like to submit a photo of a big deer that you shot during the season, we'd be happy to take a look at it. And all you have to do is go to bigbuckregistry.com/mybuck. All the instructions will be right there for you. Go to twitter.com/bigbuckregistry. That's our Twitter place. And let's see. You can check us out on Instagram, bigbuckregistry.com/Instagram. And just as you pointed out, we have a decent amount of followers over there I didn't even know about, but I've been playing around over there with some photos that come in. And I think that's about it, man. I think that's all the places where you can find us.
Yeah, that's a lot of big bucks.
That's a lot of big bucks, man. I'm Jay Scott.
And I'm Dusty Phillips.
And this is the Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast. We'll see you next week.
We're in Ohio. Can't wait.